Well, Eric, I would argue the biggest stars in college basketball this season have been women's basketball players. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers. But I would also argue the biggest embarrassments in college basketball have been in the women's tournament. What's the NCAA doing here?
Yeah, I noticed it the first time I ever went to a women's Final Four. I knew what it was like to cover a Final Four, but it just wasn't the same level. It was not the big time. It was cold cuts instead of hot food, if you want to say. We've had big problems with the women's game. We've got a court that doesn't have the same three-point lines on either side of the court in Portland. That's a huge embarrassment. That would never fly in the men's game. It would be done as soon as it was noticed. The women's teams were notified beforehand that that's the way it was the case with this court, and they both said, well, let's go ahead and play. But that's just shoddy. It's not attention to detail. The same way when a referee is removed from a game at halftime because she's got a degree from one of the schools and they have to come in with a substitute referee. The same way with Notre Dame's Hannah Hidalgo, when they realize she's got a nose ring in halfway through the game and make her leave the game to take it out and take time off the court. None of this is the kind of stuff that happens in men's basketball.
You're right. And this piggybacks on the situation back in 2021 when the tournament was held in the bubble in San Antonio and the women were not given the same kind of facilities as the men were given. The weight room was pretty pedestrian and Spartan. It was almost like an afterthought. In the women's tournament with the first round games being home court sites, it gets worse. The regionals are 2 regionals each at one site. The NCAA needs to embrace the women's game and promote it more. It's growing on its own because of the star power, but the NCAA needs to get behind it and get rid of some of these professional errors that are avoidable because the women deserve that. We'll have more coverage here at WDRB and WDRB.com. Just click on sports.